question that I asked when we first started. How the Africans feel?
Spirit strong, definitely strong.
Okay, for those who don't know the response, when I say how the Africans feel, the response is the spirit is strong, definitely strong. Let's try it one more time. How the Africans feel?
Spirit is strong, definitely strong.
How the Africans feel?
Spirit is strong, definitely strong.
Okay, that's what's up. We feeling that. As you know, about to have Brother Umar Johnson come up, phenomenal scholar, goes all around. You can give him a round of applause. Brother goes all over the world, all over the country, telling our people the information that they don't know. You know, stuff that's going on with the drugging of our children, that's legal, that they are pushing all day long, that's happening on a constant basis. So I'm not going to hold up the mic. I'm going to bring up Chairman Jabari, and you know he's going to bring up Umar. Y'all just give a round of applause for him.
Peace, family. All right, coming for you with the Mind State Liberation, coming from a long legacy of battle scars and freedom fighters. I acknowledge my duties to truth and justice as a Soul Violence Nation representative, and I'm a humble servant of my community. Elders might have permission to speak. All right, how the Africans feel?
Spirit strong.
Oh, we right over here in this area right here. Come on, y'all. How the Africans feel?
Spirit strong.
All right. Shoot, we went down there, me and the girls, and Watoto from the Nile with some white folks the other day, and they was real loud. You know, we ain't asked about the Africans feel though, you know what I mean? But you know, they was loud. Oh my God, I love Watoto. You know what I mean? So I know we ain't gonna come amongst our people, they gonna do us like that, right?
Right.
All right, let's go, let's go. So we have a heavy program here today, and we included with this price a buffet. And we have Brother Ahaj here. Give it up for Tam Tam Restaurant, African restaurant right here. Bridging the gap between Africans in America and Africans from the continent, right? You know, there's not a lot of places that you can go that's black owned, that you can get buffet. So I talked to the brother, and I saw his buffet hookup one day, and I said, well, what you doing? He said, man, I want to do it, but it's kind of chancy. I don't know if the people going to come out for that. So we've been talking about doing some things. It's the first time that we ever did it. So we hope that you enjoy the food. We hope that possibly we may can do something like this once a month. But we got to continue to support in order for that to happen. Because I know a lot of people here be in Golden Corral all the time. Come on. Put your head down. What's that new place everybody loves? Hibachi Grill. Y'all know. Alright, don't act like I've been there too. Alright? So we got to start turning some of these black institutions the same way. Where people can come and all you can eat Caribbean food, African food. We got to eat Chinese food all the time, right? Alright. So what we're going to do to kind of warm things up while we wait for our food to come out. We're going to get something to eat in a few seconds, but what we want to do, like we said, we talked about this whole drug situation. I want to talk just about a little situation that many of y'all seen on my Facebook page the other day. You know, me and the girls, we did a show on Friday, and they did a very good job, standing ovation. Walking back to the car, went in the car to get some CDs to sell, and somebody bust my window out, trying to run, you know, broke all in the car, went all through the car, trying to steal, you know, just to get a little something that they can sell so they can get that hit. And crack cocaine and all of those different drugs have devastated our community. And we got to do something about it. And what we've been doing with our group, Watoto from the Nile, for those who are familiar, this is how we're fighting back. We're going into the music industry. We're putting things out. We're reversing some of the messages that's in the music industry. But this is us fighting back. Not just saying, look, we got a problem in the community. Because we're going to talk about the problem. And Brother Umar is going to talk about what we need to do too, so far as organizing and doing things about the problems that we had. So we want to do to kind of warm y'all up a little bit, because y'all still a little stiff. Right? We're going to bring Watoto from the Nile up to do the song I Won't Quit, because that's how we felt after we came there with glass all over the place, you know what I mean? And we was feeling pumped up, and then we said, dang, after all of that, somebody broke the window out, and they're like, dang, why they pick this car? I said, don't worry about it. We ain't gonna stop, we're gonna keep on going, right? So they're gonna come up, they're gonna do their song, I Won't Quit, and also their new song that we just put out about Trayvon Martin, which we had on World. Thanks for all those people who contributed to us going on World Star Hip Hop. Give yourselves a round of applause for those here. Because we just snuck that video in, and we got over 25,000 hits on World Star and about 9,000 hits through YouTube within the last 2 weeks. So we definitely appreciate that. But let's bring up Watoto from the Nile.
It's Watoto from the Nile, calling them queens and building these little girls up. And I love that. And then I just love the creativity behind the song.
Who is Watoto from the Nile? And how did they make a video that's got millions watching and thinking. But who is Watoto from the Nile? And how did they make a video that's got millions watching and thinking?
It's the Watoto from the Nile, calling them queens and building. I love this video.
How do Africans feel?
Spirit is wrong, heaven is wrong.
Well, it's gonna get tough out there in this thing we call life. Gotta learn how to deal with the challenges, difficulties coming to you. When you feel like you can't make it no more, say a prayer. Well, it's gonna get tough out there in this thing we call life. Gotta learn how to deal with the challenges, difficulties coming to you. When you feel like you can't make it no more, say a prayer. Hold your kind, don't ever.
That's what my mama told me. That's what my daddy told me. I never run from problems when they try to sneak up on me. I hold my head up high, I never will submit to pressure. Cause God is with me and I know that I'm a God control. These problems gonna come and go. Take your best shot. I'm standing for me on this post, that means I never stop. This life we live is real, little, this ain't no fairy tale. You see me fighting with the word, you better say the word. Cause you see my soul in my eyes, I won't quit. All the pain in my life, I won't quit. I will try till I die, I won't quit. Throw my pride to the sky, I won't quit. We never quit, but we can surely make the beat stop. We stopped our problem like walking in the 60s March. Through the stormy weather, we gonna stay together. You must believe and pray the sun will shine and lots of light. My people gonna play to win. Pick a strategy. Knowledge yourself out to know how produce insanity. Sometimes you fall asleep to strip to get back up again. You show true greatness and I'm so cause me an African. Cause you see my soul in my eyes, I won't quit. All the pain in my life, I won't quit. I will try till I die, I won't quit. Throw my pride to the sky, I won't quit. You see my soul in my eyes, I won't quit. All the pain in my life, I won't quit. I will try till I die, I won't quit. Throw my pride to the sky, I won't quit. No, I never give up. No, no, no giving up. You know I never give up. No, no, no giving up. There's something in my soul, in my heart, in my eyes that will say I will never go away. No, I never give up. No, no, no giving up. You know I never give up. No, no, no giving up. There's something in my soul, in my heart, in my eyes that will say I will never go away. With my soul in my eyes, I won't quit. All the pain in my life, I won't quit. I will try till I die, I won't quit. Throw my pride to the sky, I won't quit. With my soul in my eyes, I won't quit. All the pain in my life, I won't quit. I will try till I die, I won't quit. Throw my pride to the sky, I won't quit. I won't ever give up. I won't quit. No, I'm not here in my life. No, I won't be like that. So I will try till I find my own. That was it. I will never go away. I will never give up. No, no, no giving up. You know I never give up. No, no, no giving up. There's something in my soul, in my heart, in my eyes that will say I will never go away.
Watoto here with a warning. Right now our nation's in mourning. We hope that justice prevails soon. The Martin family are with you. We come together, we must care. The negative and go elsewhere. I put my hoodie on while weeping because this case is so misleading. Right now our nation in mourning. We want justice and you want it. Don't show, we can feel it. Cause we've been waiting for it since it happened. I've been over around. Watoto telling the story. And please don't even try to ignore me. This situation is racist. We black and in a hoodie, we suspicious people showing no love. Shame on we and your family. We come together, we wish your mommy see me till I hear them singing the same song. So here with a warning. Right now our nation's in mourning. We hope that justice prevails soon. The Martin family, we're with you. We come together, we must care. The niggas even go elsewhere. I put my hoodie on while weeping, because this case is so misleading. I told you here with a warning. Right now our nation's in mourning. We hope that justice prevails soon. The Martin family are with you. We come together, we must care. The niggas even go elsewhere. I put my hoodie on while weeping, because this case is so misleading. Right now our nation's in mourning. And I'm balling. I can see him when he was walking. I can hear his voice in my head saying, what is he doing? What is he doing? Told me here on the cell phone was a sweetheart, and he said there's a man in a strange car. She said, sweetheart, why don't you turn and just run, because you know who this person is. But now our nation's in mourning, chill, and ain't bad, girl. I know this dude is tripping, I'ma walk a bit faster, and you ain't gotta worry about nothing. Girl, I got it, think I lost. That's how the story surprised me. Now I'm telling them kindly, cause in my memory go crazy. The student was invited, the police, they know they handled this case wrong. Right now our nation's in mourning. We hope that justice prevails soon. The Martin family, we're with you. We come together, we must care. The legacy can go elsewhere. I put my hoodie on while weeping, because this case is so misleading. I told you here with a warning. Right now our nation's in mourning. We hope that justice prevails soon. The Martin family are with you. We come together, we must have. The legacy can go elsewhere. I put my hoodie on while weeping, because this case is so misleading. Right now our nation's in mourning.
And y'all don't see nothing wrong. Trayvon is gone, he left the house, and he will never come home. Police, I put it on you. Too many inconsistencies, he called the cops. Don't understand why they didn't need to call him. He disregarded the authorities. They told him not to follow at all, continuously. Gun on his lips, he still busy, he acting extra thirsty. Like in a hoodie, that's a sin.
Right now our nation's in mourning.
He was warring, he got a little mad cause Trayvon tried to ignore him. The shot was a big boom, he was the aggressor. Trayvon shot the yellow, that's when they was detected. The yellow was not soon. Police said show him love, they let him walk away with murder, didn't lock him up. I love the way we came together, give us the applause. Trayvon Martin and his spirit isn't all of us.
Here with a warning.
Right now our nation's in mourning. We hope that justice prevails soon. The Martin family are with you. We come together, we must care. The niggas even go elsewhere. I put my hoodie on while weeping, because this case is so misleading. I'm tired of living with warning. Right now our nation's in mourning. We hope that justice prevails soon. The Martin family are with you. We come together, we must care. The niggas can go elsewhere. I put my hoodie on while weeping, because this case is so misleading. Right now our nation's in mourning.
All right, give it up for our Toto coming now. Please, brothers and sisters, continue to support them as we teach them to grow to be queens, not just by singing songs, but just in their everyday life. I love and appreciate this brother, really appreciate this brother, and the work that he's been doing in our community. So, brothers and sisters, I ain't gonna hold it up no more, no longer. Let's bring up Dr. Umar Johnson. Give him a big round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be with you today. When I talk, If you see water running down my right eye, I'm not crying, I'm not sad or anything. You know, the doctor tell you don't sleep in your contacts. And I slept in mine, so I'm gonna have to visit the eye doctor. I think I got a little cut somewhere on the surface of my eye, so it has me crying. So don't think something's going on up here. Okay. It's a pleasure to be here. Always an honor when I come to Maryland. Definitely an honor when I come to Baltimore. Those of you who know me know that I'm a blood relative of Frederick Douglass, who's my great-great-great-great-grand uncle. I'm a direct descendant of his half-brother and first cousin, Stephen Henry Bailey, who's my great-great-great-great-grandfather. So whenever I come to this state, it's always good, a lot of positive energy, ancestral spirits. Not only do I have Maryland blood on my father's side, I have Maryland blood on my mother's side as well. So this state is definitely very special to me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a school psychologist by training. I'm also a clinical psychologist. I'm also an educator, and I'm formally trained as a political scientist. I want to make sure you guys are clear about a couple of things as it relates to education, or what we should call the miseducation of our children. Because I had some of that good Senegalese food, I'm going to sit down today. Because, you know, the itis can mess up your oratory. And I normally don't eat before I speak because the food is kryptonite. But because it was Senegalese, West African food, and Senegal is one of my favorite places to visit on the continent, I had to partake. And having ate the food, it just motivated me to get my plane ticket and get back on over there. Firstly, let's start with the psychoacademic war against black boys. I have discovered in my 12 years as a school psychologist and as a therapist and a clinician that the American social order has a rites of passage for black males. It's a 5-stage passage, and it encompasses the entire life of every black male born in this country. The 5 stages goes like this. The first stage is miseducation. The 3 objectives of miseducation include A, to teach the black boy to hate himself. That's right. B, to teach the black boy to love white culture. And C, if possible, to effeminize and or homosexualize the black boy. We're going to get more into the homosexual piece in a minute. The second stage is psychiatric medication. Before I go into the second stage, I want to make sure you're clear about one thing. There's only one goal for public education for black boys. Absolutely one. And that is to get them to acquiesce to the will of white supremacy. There is no other goal. Absolutely none. The whole purpose is to get the black boy to accept the dictates of the American social order. To the extent that they can do that is to the extent that they can thrive and be successful. To the extent that they cannot do that is the extent to which they will be suspended, expelled, special educated, psychiatrically medicated, juvenile incarcerated, and ultimately exterminated. That's right. We have to be very clear about that. The black boy learns about white supremacy on the job because we're not teaching him about it at home. He learns on his own in kindergarten. Some learn in preschool that white people run this world and there's nothing me or my parents can do about it. Because our boys don't want to accept that type of reality because they still have their manhood. They haven't yet given it up yet. Many of them choose to drop out of school because they would rather be out on the street than have their manhood disrespected on a daily basis. Sometimes we don't understand that. We ask our children, why are you not going to school? Why are you dropping out? Why are you not getting your diploma? Do you understand how difficult it's going to be? But he can't necessarily look too far into the future, but he understands his present. And at present, he's being psychologically castrated by middle-class white women, and he has decided he's not going to take it any longer. The problem isn't the child who doesn't go to school. It is logical for a child to drop out if they're being mistreated. That's logical. But because black people have been trained by their enemy to accept any type of treatment, we look at our children like there's something wrong with them when there's really something wrong with us. Stage 2, psychiatric medication. If the black boy does not acquiesce to the will of the white female teacher or the white male principal or the white teacher or principal in blackface, because there's a lot of them. The next stage is to force him chemically to acquiesce to the will of white supremacy. The whole purpose of psychiatric medication and this is coming from the government. This is not my own analysis. This is actually coming from the government. The purpose, the original intent of psychiatric medication was to be used as a means of social control to prevent civil unrest in American ghettos. I want to make sure you understand that. Your son is not principally being prescribed Ritalin or Adderall or Cyclert or Depakote or Risperdal or Zoloft or Paxil so he can get a better education. There's no research that shows medicating improves the educating. Absolutely none. He is doped up so that he becomes docile to the treatment by police, that he becomes docile to treatment by the American social order. Ask yourself, where would we be had Marcus Garvey or Mr. Muhammad or Malcolm King or Meg or Huey or anyone else, Kwame Ture, had been a child prescribed psychiatric medication? Would they had the logic or the reasoning to be able to embark upon the paths that they chose had their parents agreed to give them cocaine for kids? So you have to see the whole social programming of the situation. So you add homosexuality on top of the psychiatric war, and so now you have homosexual zombies walking around. Understand this. You know this, but sometimes it has to be said again so you remain conscious. Drugs don't solve problems. Drugs don't solve inattention. Drugs don't solve hyperactivity. Drugs don't solve anger. Drugs don't solve aggression. There is no evidence that any drug solves any problem. The drug's job is simply to suppress the symptom until the school day is over. Suppress the symptom until the school day is over. Now, the reason I take significant issue with the drugs is because I understand that the side effects are so debilitating that many of our boys, when they're old enough to try to make an honest and decent living, won't be able to, because the impact of the side effect of the drug would have been so significant that many of them won't be able to work. Kills brain cells on contact. Mess with heart function. Instant death, stroke, heart attack, liver, kidney failure, epilepsy, diabetes, schizophrenia, tic disorders, psychosis, and you know what psychosis is. That's what we call people quote unquote crazy, which we shouldn't, but psychosis is when you hear things that aren't there and see things that are not there. It messes with the child's sleep-wake cycle, so either they sleep too much or they don't sleep at all. It messes with their diet to the point where they eat too much or they don't eat at all. And most importantly, from a eugenics, racial extermination standpoint, the drug erodes the black boy's ability to produce healthy semen. So when he's old enough to have children, many of our boys won't be able to, because you as his parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, caregivers, foster and adoptive parents thought that it was necessary for him to be able to sit still long enough to be miseducated. You can't put a kid in special ed. You can't diagnose ADHD. You cannot prescribe medication unless there was a black parent somewhere who gave permission for the psychologist to label the child in the first place. 2 million black men in prison, 2 million black children in special education. You do the math. You do the math. Where did special education come from? 1975, federal government, go back 54, Brown versus Board of Education decision, Supreme Court said you could no longer use race in education. As a result of that, white supremacists had to come up with a new strategy to keep the black boys away from the white girls. And let's be careful. Let's be clear. Segregation is based on keeping the white gene pool as pure as it possibly can be kept. The reason I'm saying that is because black people often give all types of erroneous and incorrect reasons for why racism exists. That's right, bro. Some of us say racism exists because white people haven't accepted Christ. Some of us say racism exists because white people haven't accepted Islam. Some of us say racism exists because they haven't accepted the Moorish way or the Hebrew way. Racism exists because they don't know that we built the pyramids. Racism exists because they're ignorant about what our possibilities are as a people. Racism exists because we don't act white enough. Racism exists because we can't talk like them or act like them. Those are not the reasons why racism exists. Racism is a psychobiological survival system. A psychobiological survival system based on white folks' desires to make sure that they are not exterminated by black men cohabitating with white women. One black man in a nation of white women can turn the complexion in 25 years. You need not kill. All you need to do is cohabitate. We got to be clear about that. And because it is psychobiological, because the black gene is dominant and the European gene is recessive, you can't change that fact of nature. And if you can't change that fact of nature, you can't change white supremacy. You can destroy it, but you can't change it. So moral persuasion is not an option because they're fighting for genetic survival. They are a world's minority trying to guarantee that they will always be around. And so when black men date and marry white women and white men see us in the street and say nothing to us, we think it's because they've accepted it. They go back to their think tanks and they come up with new strategies for how they're going to get rid of black people. While I was sitting here today, I got a text from a friend of mine here in Maryland. She took a picture of a billboard, sent it to me here. And on the billboard it says, and some of you may have seen this because this is in the Baltimore area, it's a big billboard, and it says it costs $785 a month to take care of a child. It's one of the abortion eugenics advertisements, propaganda. Getting black women to think twice about having a baby because it can be too costly. When I was in South Africa, driving to the airport, they did one better. They didn't say that it cost $785 a month to take care of a child. They said, we're going to pay you $500 US to get a full hysterectomy. This was on the way to the Johannesburg airport. I'll never forget it because I never saw an abortion advertisement that blatantly direct. For my Obama maniacs, it's important that you know this. One of the first executive orders that your black president signed when he took office was he reversed a federal ban that prevented your tax money from going to abortion agencies in Africa that advocated hysterectomies and abortions. It was illegal to use that money for hysterectomy and abortion. But one of the first executive orders that President Obama signed was to reverse that. Not only is he the homosexual president, he's the eugenics president too. And he has a very interesting past that I'm certain will come out when he's no longer president. But because you have been so programmed by black bourgeoisie, and you have been so programmed by the American social order, many of us would never even stop to consider that this man is just a strategy. One amongst millions that white supremacy uses to further its agenda. Obama's election did not signal a changing of condition for black people. It signaled a re-strengthening of the guard for white supremacy. See, if you don't understand white supremacy, nothing you see in your neighborhood, nothing you see in your country, nothing you see on the globe will make any sense to you. You have to understand white supremacy. What are 3 of the basic laws to white supremacy? And there's several. Law number 1, we might change face, we might change form, we might change function, but the agenda stays the same. We are so misdirected by the appearance of things that we fail to study who's actually controlling those appearances. So you have to get yourself in the habit of asking this one question whenever you see something that looks a little peculiar. Who benefits most from this happening?
Keep on them.
That's right.
Ask yourself that. When you see homosexuality in the black community, who benefits most from this happening? when you see black children dropping out of school, when you see black men marrying white women, who benefits most from this arrangement? President Obama being in office, who benefits most? If you ask yourself that question, you'll begin to peel away the veneer of illusion. See, one of black people's most difficult problems, the reason why progress hasn't been more effective, is that many of us are too busy trying to fit in as opposed to get ahead. As long as you try to fit in, the last thing you're thinking about is building for yourself. See, being accepted automatically falls under the domain of integration. Now, when I talk about integration, people automatically assume that you must be a separatist if you're not for integration. Black people are already separated from white people. You don't have to be a separatist. That's number one. Number two, you're not integrated. All you have is social integration. The ability to go to the ballpark, the ability to go see the Ravens play, the ability to use the same hotel. You only have the ability to spend your money with white people. That's the only integration you have. In fact, if you study the Civil Rights Bill of 63-64, you'll find that the Civil Rights Bill didn't even fall under civil rights law. It fell under commerce and interstate law. It was about business, not racial uplift. Integration was just a strategy for white folk to capitalize off the money in the black community. They said, let them into the baseball league. Look what they bring to the table. We're not changing our opinion about them, but look what we can make. We don't want them sleeping in our hotels, but look at the disposable income that they have. Speaking of disposable income, the report is out on 2011. Black spending. Black people spend more money on cell phones than every other group in America put together. And they also found that you replace your cell phone. This is white people reporting on your Negro economic behavior. They found that black people, unlike most other people, replace their cell phones for no other reason than a new one looks better than an old one. I'm reading this. They say most people replace the cell phone when it's no longer functioning or it's maladaptive. They say not black people. The minute something new comes out on the market, whether they need it or not, they will purchase it. We also found what? Of course, we watch more television than everybody else. And for the first time, we spend more time on the internet than we do in front of the TV. We also are overrepresented amongst those who buy automobiles. Once again, black people, unlike other people, buy automobiles not because they need one, but because it enhances their perceived sense of social status. So we are going into debt to look better to other black people. I'm not a fan of Will Smith, but his mother was the secretary at my middle school up in West Philadelphia.
West Philly?
Yeah, I'm from North Philadelphia though, but I went to middle school in West Philly. Jill Scott in the house. Will Smith said, black people spend too much money that they don't have trying to impress people they don't like to buy stuff they don't need. And he's not a psychologist, but boy, if that ain't perceptive, and I'm going to hope, I'm going to wish and pray that him and Jada ain't turning those two little children into some sort of Hollywood, and I don't want to say the word, because I'm seeing their pictures, and I'm saying I hope this young little brother ain't on a road to homosexualization, because I'm looking at the photos and the way he's dressing, and I don't like what I'm seeing. I'm hoping they're not doing that. Okay, I'm just going to hope. Okay? Now, getting back to the spending habits, and then I want to go back to that psychoacademic war. Black people made Toyota the #1 selling car dealership in the black community. Toyota Nissan, Ford, I think Cadillac. Malt liquor sales, we totally dominate the malt liquor.
Cognac.
Guess what I was told by one of the brothers who worked for a distributing company? We were sitting in a store one day up in Philadelphia, and he pulled out this big laptop, so I started asking him about his laptop, because I never saw one like that. It looked like one of the Army laptops. So he said, I work for a beer distribution thing. So we started talking about politics. I told him I was a Garveyite. We started building. He said, I'm going to tell you something. If black people knew what malt liquor would do to the liver, they would never drink another cup of it. Now he said, I make money off of this, but it is killing us. He said what it would take one of the higher quality beers to do to the liver, it would take them about 5 years to get to the point that malt liquor would have you in 6 months. He said malt liquor shouldn't even be sold. That's how toxic it is to the kidney and to the liver. And he said that when you look nationally at the malt liquor sales, it is almost earmarked for the ghetto. He said they don't even sell that stuff out in the suburbs. They earmark. And in fact, he said malt liquor is the waste that comes from making the other beers. It's the leftover stuff that they bottle it and send it to the neighborhood. Not to mention there's research out there that show that it messes with the man's ability, once again, to reproduce. The eugenics piece. Here's the thing, black people. It makes no sense for us to be making every foreigner who comes to America billionaires in a couple years without making ourselves and each other billionaires within a couple of years. Isn't it amazing that somebody sitting in China right now, never been to Baltimore, never been to a black community, but can't stand black people, but they can't wait to get a visa to come to Baltimore because they've been told by relatives and people who look like them that you can make a fortune off of black people. Because the black dollar is the most undiscriminating dollar in America. Every other dollar discriminates. If you don't believe me, you never see a Chinese corner store in a black neighborhood. You never see an Italian pizza joint in an Asian neighborhood. They only support each other. We don't support one another. And the reason we don't support one another is because we don't identify as being who we are. Most of us have a primary identifier that is something other than our race. Most of us identify with our religion, which is one of our biggest problems. Not that you identify with your religion, but that it is your primary identifier. So if I identify and I say that I'm Christian, automatically a white person, an Arab, an East Indian who's a Christian, is automatically within my in-group, and black people who have my same history are in the out-group. That's how critical identity is. So when black people walk down the street and they want to go purchase something, they don't even feel guilty about spending their money with somebody else because they identify as being American. So if I am an African American, then what's wrong with me supporting an Italian American? What's wrong with me supporting a Korean American? What's wrong with me supporting an Indian American? Because after all, we're all Americans. See, Amos Wilson said, until you change the identity, you won't be able to redirect the progress. Identity is the issue. See, when a Chinese man opens up a store, he don't have to advertise to Chinese people. You never see Chinese people give out flyers to other Chinese people. You never see East Indians give out flyers to other East Indians. You never see Arabs when they open up a gas station or the different stores that they have. You notice they only advertise to people who don't look like them. They don't have to advertise to the in-group, right? Because of in-group loyalty. It dictates you must buy from me anyway. So I don't need to sell you on my product. You have an obligation due to your identity to come and buy from me first. But with Negroes, there's no such identity. See, we have to understand something. Until we change our economic behavior, it's going to be difficult to change the political behavior. And if you don't change the economic and the political behavior, then you can't change the racial behavior or progress of black people. See, we hear a lot about crime, black on black violence, black people killing other black people. Well, psychologically speaking, where's all this coming from? Did they just wake up one day and start killing each other? Black on black violence is nothing more than the outgrowth of pain, misery, desperation, hopelessness, a lack of love, having been deserted. And whenever a person is filled up with that much pain, anything, the slightest provocation will turn them into a killer. I speak at the prisons. Some of the people who you would see who have taken lives you would have never thought in your life would have been capable of killing someone. And guess what I often hear from the killers? I can't believe I did it. I did not wake up that day with any intent to kill that man. Just at that moment, something came over me. You know what came over him? His pain, his hurt, his anger. Black people need healing. And until there is a healing, it will be difficult to be a building. And see, one of the things we like to do is hide the fact that we got issues. And we like to hide behind all that garbage that we love to buy. So you have good-looking black people in nice houses, black people who are well-educated, black people with good jobs, black people with nice cars. But behind all of that, you have depressed people. Behind all of that, you have anxious people. Behind all of that, you have chemically addicted people. Now, what is chemical addiction? Chemical addiction is nothing more than somebody who got a problem, a deep-seated psychological issue that's causing them pain and discomfort. And because they lack the willpower to face the demon and slay it once and for all, they rather simply sedate the issue, pacify the issue. But the problem with pacifying the issue is that you only feel good as long as that joint is there. You only feel good as long as that pack of cigarettes is there. You only feel good until that bottle of liquor is gone. And then once you come off that high, you're right back where you started, which makes you feel even worse than the beginning. So what do? Beam right back on up. And that's where the addiction comes from. There is no addiction without some sort of issue that you're trying to cope with, without facing. But we have to understand that you can't get the pleasure. You can't get the peace of mind unless you go through the pain. I want to make sure you understand that. Any issue you got, a problem with your mother or father that you never rectified, something with your coworkers, brothers and sisters, baby mom, baby dad, ex-husband, ex-wife, somebody on the block, anybody, somebody at church, the masjid, the temple, the community organization, whatever it is you do, any issue you got, you have to understand that you will never be able to achieve peace unless you're willing to confront the pain. The peace stands behind the pain. If we could just get the willpower to slay our demons once and for all, they will start running our lives. Two most important questions that everybody has to ask themselves is what? Do you like your job and do you like who you live with? Those are the two biggest predictors of a life of happiness. Do you like what you wake up doing 40 hours a week? And do you like who you come home to after you work those 40 hours a week? If you like your job but don't like your spouse, you'll be one of those people who do triple and quadruple overtime. You ever see somebody never go home? When they leave on Monday, they pack for the whole 5 days. And you say, why don't you ever take your behind home? I like my job. I love what I do. I'm committed. No, you're not. You're subconsciously resisting going home to that husband or that wife because you wish you never married her. And if you like your husband and your wife and don't like your job, you're one of those people who call out and use up all your sick days. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And if you don't like your job or your spouse, that's sowing the seeds for chemical addiction or overeating or over shopping. Because we tend not to look at shopping as an addiction, but it is. We tend not to look at food as an addiction, but it is. Our young people have an incidence of obesity, significant one right now, in the African American community. Michelle Obama, she has an initiative against obesity, but my issue with the First Lady is that your campaign isn't dealing with the psychological triggers of obesity. Obesity isn't just about love of food. For most people, it has nothing to do with the food. It has to do with coping with some kind of problem. And while you're eating and drinking, your brain automatically arrests the chemicals that cause negative emotions. So that's why you find yourself gravitating to the refrigerator when you're having a bad day. You find yourself gravitating to that 2-liter gallon of Pepsi that you don't need to be drinking. Why? Because you feel better while you're under the influence of it. Food can be a drug. But I know young girls who have been victims of sexual issues and boys who've been victims of sexual issues, and as a result of that, they overeat to cope with their pain so they can stop thinking about it. I knew one young girl who told me, she said, Dr. Umar, the reason I am eating is because my innocence was taken from me when I was a little girl. And I was a pretty little girl. So I believe being pretty is what got me in trouble with that man. So I decided to become ugly so maybe another man would never touch me again. The psychological triggers for obesity. We have to stop spending more than we save. We are a race of conspicuous consumers. and it is not helping us at all. Too many people are making billions. The Korean hair care industry, oh my goodness. The automobile industry, oh my goodness. Nike, Adidas sneakers, oh my goodness. Black people shelling out billions of dollars every year on junk. You own 2 or 3 of something, you're automatically a conspicuous consumer. You don't need a television in every bedroom. In fact, your children don't need one at all. You don't need network television because all they're doing is teaching them how to be Negroes through the television. That's all it is a Negro tube. Okay, BET, Black Exploitation Television. And we need to turn it off. If you're going to let your child watch television, you better put a limit on it. 1 hour a day, no more than 2. You're going to let them play video games, and I prefer they don't play video games at all during the week. But if you're going to, no more than an hour a day. You got to limit that because video game addiction is real. I know young people who are literally addicted to video games. And when you think they sleep, guess what? They got the television on mute, still playing, and you wonder why he got bags under his eyes all the way down to his chin. Then he goes to school and they want to diagnose him with ADHD because he can't pay attention. He can't pay attention because he's fatigued and tired because he never goes to sleep. And please start sending your children to school with breakfast in their stomach. The brain does not function appropriately in the morning hours if it doesn't have the fuel. And I'm not talking about Lucky Charms. I'm not talking about Sugar Smacks. I'm not talking about Fruity Pebbles. Give them some grits. Give them some oatmeal. Give them some of those old-time breakfast meals that your parents gave you. That's what the body needs, not sugar. They need to hear that. Because you keep on giving them sugar, and the first thing the white teachers say, what? I think he got ADHD. So now he on a drug. Now he on 2 drugs, because table sugar is the first drug. And then he on Ritalin and Strattera. That's the second drug. And for those of y'all who don't know, table sugar was once classified as a drug by the Food and Drug Administration. That's why it looks like crack, weighs like crack, got the same side effects as crack. And if we call sugar what it is, which is crack, how many in this room are crack addicts? See, when a parent calls me saying the son got ADHD, the first thing we got to do is go to the house and throw everything out that has sugar in it. Fructose, sucrose, any kind of ose. It goes in the trash for 3 months. Now at first, guess what? He's going to suffer from sugar withdrawal, caffeine withdrawal, high fructose corn syrup withdrawal. So for the first couple of weeks, he's going to look like a crackhead because you cut off his crack. But you'll notice after the first 30 days, the behavior will start to subside. And if you ride it out for 90 days, you'll have your kid back. But the problem with putting the kids on the sugar fast is most of you addicted to the sugar. So when I tell you to throw out the briars, you can't do that. When I tell you to get rid of the Pepsi, you can't do that. So the child has to stay addicted to sugar because the parents are addicted to sugar. That's how deep the condition goes. So anyway, when we get back to the psychoacademic war against black boys, after psychiatric medicine, if the drug doesn't force the boy to accept the dictates of white supremacy, they juvenile incarcerate him. Black boys are suspended from school, significantly more than white boys for the same offenses. There was a report just came out from the United States Department of Education. It said black boys are suspended 3 times, white boys for the same offense. That's right. How is that? It's because the school teacher, the public school teacher, the charter school teacher, the parochial school teacher, the private school teacher, I don't care which one, because 93% of all teachers are Caucasian women. 93% of all teachers in America are Caucasian women. But whenever we talk about education, you notice nobody brings that up. Every time we talk about what's wrong with school, you get a laundry list of all this other secondary stuff that ain't primary. The schools need more money. Teachers need more pay. We need new textbooks. We need new school buildings. We need computers in every classroom. The kids need to stop listening to all that rap music. The parents need to get involved. Are those things important? Yes. Are they primary? Hell no. The parents could get involved. You could put the children in new classrooms. You could pay the teacher more money. You can put every child in the school of the future. Every teacher can be certified. And guess what? You will still have what you have right now. 1 out of every 4 black boys graduate from high school in this country. You know why you're still going to have that? Because the reason why they ain't learning is because the white woman don't want to teach her. The reason why they're not learning is because the white woman don't want to teach them. See, when your son can't read, you look at him. And you ask Raheem why you can't read. But it wasn't Raheem's job to teach himself. Your tax dollar is paying an employee to do that, and of course you should be helping. Because I got a big problem with Negro parents because we seem to think homework is not important. We seem to think that homework is something that doesn't have to be done. And the minute your child begins to dip off in the test scores, first thing they want to do is send them to me to get a learning disability diagnosed. What is a learning disability? The failure on part of a child with normal intelligence to learn a scholastic skill. The failure on part of a child with normal intelligence to learn a scholastic skill. Well, let me ask you a question. If your child got normal intelligence, if your daughter got normal intellectual function, if your grandson has adequate cognitive potential, how in the hell can it be possible for him not to be able to learn how to read? How can it be possible for her not to be able to do math? Do you see what we're doing? We are creating an excuse for the schools not to educate. Special education is an excuse not to educate. Once your child goes into special education, they're likely to stay there until 12th grade. They're going to graduate with a regular diploma, but they can't read on 12th grade level, can't do math on 12th grade level, can't write on 12th grade level. You know what you just did? You voluntarily made your child a functional illiterate. I deal with it all the time. Functionally illiterate children. Regular diploma, but it catches up with you when it's time to go to college. It catches up with you when it's time to go to the job. Special education was created to give white school districts the opportunity to keep black kids away from white ones. Because Brown versus Board said they couldn't use race, they couldn't use color. They did what? Created a whole list of disabilities. They made them up out of thin air. What in the hell is attention deficit? Hyperactivity disorder. Pure nonsense. Amen. Something they gave you in the 1980s. Same time they gave you crack so they can give your kids kitty crack. No attention deficit. That really stands for absence of his daddy from his home disorder. ADHD. It is about the daddy not being there. Come on, bro. Have you noticed that most of the boys labeled are the ones coming from single parent homes where mothers are doing the best they can, but there's nothing normal about a woman trying to make a man? That's what this is about. When the father is present, you don't get no ADHD. No. Y'all have 2 infant boys, correct? They got twin boys. How much you want to bet? Neither one of them boys ever get referred for special education. How much you want to bet? Neither one of those boys ever come up for ADHD evaluation because father is in the house. And if father is not in the house, then those of us, men in the hood, in the community, we have to do what? Put a body on every black boy. Every black boy should have a male to whom they are accountable. I don't care if you have 5 sons of your own, make room for 2 more. That's right. Every boy that walks down that street should have a man that they have to answer to. That's right. And when they don't have a man that they have to answer to, they develop an ego that says, I don't have to answer to nobody. See, black men, we got to understand something. This respect that our young brothers are showing our sisters and us and everybody else in the neighborhood is a direct result of the fact that they have come to learn that most of us as their elders are scared as hell of them. Yeah. And we will not be able to get their respect as long as we fear them. And as we organize to take back the street, we have to recognize 2 things. Number 1, you can't pull them off the corner unless you can put them somewhere more productive. Right. We got to have services and resources. Telling people that what they're doing is wrong ain't going to get it done. When the American Social Order wanted the Italians to stop selling dope and liquor, they gave them the police department. When they wanted the Irish to stop selling dope and liquor, they gave them the fire department. When they wanted the poor Jews to stop hustling dope and rackets, they gave them the civil service jobs downtown. They got them out of the criminal element by employing them. Guess what? We will get our black men out of the criminal element also by employing them. You cannot separate violence from the economic reality in which it is embedded. We keep on trying to do that. We keep talking about fighting against the prisons, which we must. But guess what? If we're not talking about jobs in the same vein, then you won't be able to reduce the numbers. Because most crimes are economically motivated, directly or indirectly. I go into a Chinese store. Brother bumps me the wrong way. He gives me a stare. I pull out my gun and I kill him. You read it in the newspaper. You say, why did he shoot him? He didn't do nothing to him. You don't understand the background factor. Nobody told you I just got laid off of a job I've been working for 20 years. Nobody told you that I got 5 children that I'm raising, and I don't know how I'm going to keep a roof over their head having lost my job. It was stress that killed that man. It was the lack of opportunity that killed that man. If we're not going to deal with economic empowerment, you cannot deal with mass incarceration. And why are they locking up black men so significantly? And why are black women the fastest growing prison component right now? One thing you got to know about slavery. When slavery ended, they had no place where black people were needed. The white people formed unions to keep you from getting jobs because you were more talented than they were. So they created unions to keep you out, and if you notice, the union still serves to keep you out. So automatically black people had to become what? Vagrants. Stealing, doing whatever they could, not because they were thieves, but they had families to take care of, and the social order didn't pave a way for them. 3 things the criminal justice system did at the end of slavery to give birth partly to what you see right now. Number 1, they upgraded petty offenses into major crimes. Petty offenses into major crimes. Number 2, they focused on crimes that were racially classified. In other words, crime is a function of not somebody breaking the law, but who you going to focus on is breaking the law. White men break the law all the time, but the government chooses not to focus. So they find the things that we do, and they simply put a magnifying glass on it. Let me give you an example. Bill Clinton, who was your first black president. That's what y'all said. It's not coming. Okay? And by the way, he has been inducted by Negroes in Arkansas into the Arkansas Black Hall of Fame. They have a white man in a black Hall of Fame. You will never catch a black person in the Jewish Hall of Fame. You will never catch an Arab in an East Indian Hall of Fame. That is how sick we are, wanting to be loved by everybody. That's called low racial self-esteem. Call it what it is. So anyway, when Bill Clinton introduced mandatory minimum sentences for nonviolent drug-related crime, that changed the whole face of crime. Changed the whole face of crime for the first time. You could get a minimum sentence and you didn't hurt nobody. You didn't touch a soul. 3 strikes and you out, that was major. If we wanted to turn the prisons all white, all we got to do is focus on white crime. For example, people who don't pay their taxes, white crime. For example, drunk driving. Do you know you could turn the prison white tomorrow if drunk driving automatically came with a mandatory minimum sentence? Because more than 75% of all people cited for driving drunk are white males. But they don't give that a mandatory minimum sentence because the focus is on removing black men from the social order. Right now, President Obama and Bush before him signed these laws called temporary visitation passes that Mexicans can get and other illegal immigrants can get if they can prove that they can find jobs for periods of 2 years. You're still an illegal immigrant, but you're legal. Now see that? Why is this happening when half the black men in Baltimore are unemployed? How did you find space for Mexicans to sneak over and get a job when half the black men in New York City are unemployed? You know why? Because the corporations who rule the government, because the government is a corporation, they relaxed the laws to let the illegal immigrants in. Why? Because it maximizes profits. Listen to me. The reason why you have 46 million undocumented illegal immigrants, it is the United States government's attempt to do what? Keep the corporations from selling the businesses and sending them to second and third world nations. Are y'all following me? If you pick up your corporation and send it to Pakistan somewhere, you'll be able to maximize profit because you only have to pay the worker $1 a day. So the government said, we can't afford to be losing all these businesses to second and third world nations. So what are we going to do to keep them? Let them employ the illegal immigrants for $1 a day. And that's why they're keeping the corporations in America. In the meanwhile, what are black men supposed to do? Go to jail. See, we're no longer needed in the economic order. We were brought here to serve manual labor. They have the Mexican. They no longer need the Negro. So there's only one place for you, and that's the prison. This is by design. And although we want our young people to stay in high school and get a diploma, if we don't have an economic reality for them after high school, what good was it? What good was it? This is what the children are asking on the street. Stay in high school for what? When I'm done, what do you got waiting for me? And then they keep the jobs out of the black community to do what? Influence all the black children to sign up for JROTC. I am not a fan of that nonsense. I was forced in it because I went to a military high school. But I refused to go to the military after that. That's for sure. Try not to influence your children to go into the service. This is being done by design. Cut off all opportunities of employment to black youth so they'll be forced to pick up a rifle for the American social order. And then they're hustling our kids by telling them they're going to get a GI Bill and we're going to pay your way to college. But what they're not telling your child is, although we're going to give you some money for college, if we need your service while you're in school, you're going to have to withdraw because we need you in Afghanistan for 2 years. And so you go to Afghanistan for 2 years and you come back, and now you're 21 years old, and you re-enroll in school, and you start getting your study on. Guess what? Call you up again. We need you in Kuwait for 2 years. So you come back, now you're 23, and you're studying again. Guess what? We got a problem in Somalia, a new terrorist. We need you back for 2 years. So what happens is they keep stopping and starting your education. You never finish. It's by design. No Child Left Behind. Y'all remember that law? The No Child Left Behind was nothing but a military recruitment law in disguise. The No Child Left Behind Act required any school district who wanted NCLB funds must allow the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Coast Guard, and Air Force access to pupil records beginning in the 8th grade. And if you did not allow the recruiters to intermingle with the high school students, your money would be cut. It was only about filling up the service. Right now, any of the branches of the service have access to your student records. There's nothing you can do about it because it is law. They look at 8th grade boys, and they look at what their father did, and they look at what their grandfather did. And he said, well, his father had been in jail twice, his grandfather was murdered. He's a perfect candidate for the military because he ain't got much to live for anyway. This is what they do. They prey on the children who don't look like they're going to make nothing out of their life. And what they do is they take them and then they make them glamorize fighting for America like that's any different than fighting on the street corner killing a brother. And so when I go into the high schools, I see our young brothers and sisters all dressed up with their ROTC uniforms as proud as they can be. And it ain't their fault. We signed them up. Well, he needed some discipline. So why in the hell didn't you teach it? You mean to tell me you need the Army to teach your son how to act? You need your Army to give your son some self-respect? You need the Marine Corps to tell him to hold the door open for a lady? We got that bad that we want the white man to do everything. Just like black history. Everybody fighting for black history in the schools. I beg to differ. I don't want no white woman teaching my daughters about her ancestors. That's my job. What the hell do I want a Jewish woman teaching my daughter about Marcus Garvey for? What the hell do I want some Irish history teacher teaching my nephews about Malcolm X? If you give those people control over your child's history, if you let them interpret the child's history, whoever controls your understanding of the past can dictate the future. We should be teaching history ourselves. You got a church on every other corner. Why in the hell can't they learn who they are in there? You got a church on every other corner. Why isn't there a math recovery program, a reading recovery program, a math recovery program, a writing recovery program? Why don't we hold the religious institutions accountable? I don't have a problem with none of the religions. I'm only looking for how you use it. If you're using your Islam to help, I have no problem. If you're using your Christianity to help, I have no problem. But if you're using it so you can set yourself apart and look special, I got a problem with that. See, black people talk about integrating, but the only people you're interested in integrating with is people who don't look like you. You are not interested in integrating with other black people.
That's right.
You ever be in the supermarket, stand in line, you get too close to a black person, they go to another line. The last thing they want to do is touch you. You move, you get a house in the suburbs. We always talk about how white people move off the block once the second black family get on the block. Hell, you moved out once you saw one other black family because you wanted to be the only one on the block. How are you going to integrate with other people when you don't integrate with yourself? And we fail to recognize that historically, no people has ever accepted another people if they felt that they were below them.
That's right.
No law can do this for you. No march can do this. No rally. No black president can do this. No executive order. No black politician. No church. No act of God. You must do this for yourself. If it is to be done for black people, it is to be done by black people. Now some of you say, well, hold on there, Brother Umar. I'm in an organization and we got some progressive white people. We have some liberal Europeans. I've been working with these white people for 20 years. I haven't seen them do a black person bad yet. Whenever we need them in the schools, they're there. Whenever somebody's killed in the neighborhood, they're there. So I don't believe in this whole thing that it can only be black people in the organization. When that event is over, do those white people live in your neighborhood? Or do they go back and live with all the racist white people? There's no difference between a liberal and a conservative. The only difference is a conservative is bold enough to tell you he wants nothing to do with you. And the liberal wants you to think they like you because they have an agenda. See, I've learned that a lot of these good white people in your organizations are writing grants.
That's right.
And getting paid for helping you, and you don't even know about it.
That's right.
Good white people. Next time you see a Negro talking about something, he got a white best friend, you're talking to a fool. And he said, well, wait a minute. There got to be some exceptions to the rule. I'm not going to say it's not. I haven't found any, but I'm not going to say it's not. But I want you to understand this. You have to raise your political IQ. We are not up against a bunch of individuals. We are up against a system in which all white people participate. You got to grasp that. They all participate in the upkeep of the system. If you don't believe me, find me any white person alive today. Find me any white person who has ever lived at any point in history who was willing to give up their white privilege card to be treated equal with blacks. The liberal is helping you because they believe you can't fix it yourself. The liberal is fighting for you because they think you lack the intelligence to do it yourself. The liberal gave you the Urban League and the NAACP because they thought you needed paternalism and maternalism, because left to your own wits, you would fail your own struggle. The white liberal is no different than the conservative. Please wake up. See, we like to put white people in groups. We got good white people, not so good white people, sometimes good white people, Christian white people, and y'all go crazy over them. White people don't put black people in groups. They just have one, black. None of that nonsense. None of that. White supremacy, so simple, but we miss it. We are in charge, and we're going to do anything we can to stay there. See, one thing that differs from African theosophy and white theosophy is we don't believe that the ends justify means. For us, it's certain things we just don't do. We're not going to blow up a whole building full of white folk to get at one of them. That's not within the African ethos. Our ethics doesn't tolerate that. If a white child is hungry on the street starving, we're going to feed them because that's who we are. But don't confuse who you are with what other people are. They don't have that kind of ethos. When you study white military thought, they'll tell you in a minute, whatever got to be done. In order to achieve the goal, you do it. and be satisfied that it was done. This is what they are about. You got to recognize something, that you're dealing with a certain type of a human being if they are human. You're dealing with a certain type of one. And if you don't stop looking at them through the way you look at yourself, they're going to run right past you, because white people are masters of military science. They have perfected the art of gaining black confidence. One white person can come in here, give a good rap, and half of you will be believing in them.
That's right. That's right.
And we have a natural magnet for white people participation in black movement anyway, because of our Willie Lynch chip. And whenever a white person comes around, you might not even see him, but your radar start going off. Beep, 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 beep. This is what we do.
Tell the truth.
Absolutely, we must change it. So the black boy miseducated, then the black boy psychiatrically medicated, then the black boy juvenile incarcerated, then he's psychologically frustrated, alienated, he's on the street corner, pissed off at the black community, pissed off at his mom and pop, because y'all told me all I had to do was go to school, do my work, and life would be well. Well, guess what, Mom? I don't even have a left eye no more. Cops shot it out. You never told me about that. And we don't teach our children about racism because we think it's going to make them hate white people. If you don't teach them about racism and they got to learn it on their own, they will hate white people. That's what I'm dealing with in the schools. Black boys being expelled for telling these white women, if you say it again, I'm going to slap you in your damn face. And then the white woman goes to the principal and says she never said it. And then when the black boy goes to his classmates, because when you expel a child, and y'all need to know this, if your child is ever brought up for expulsion, first of all, you have a mandatory right to due process. You must appear before the local school board, and you have a right to challenge. And when you challenge, you have a right to submit evidence, and you can also subpoena witnesses. You can do this as parents. So you can have your children's friends in the classroom come in and say what they saw. The problem is other black parents aren't going to let their children defend yours, because we love to have good relationships with white people. I've seen children expelled when they could have been exonerated by one child's testimony, but the parents said, I don't want my kid caught up in that. But guess what? Had it been a white child who was up for expulsion, that black parent would have sent their child to that school board hearing in their Sunday best to save Johnny and Sarah. See, before we can change any other problem we have to change ourselves. See, before you can have an economic revolution, cultural or otherwise, you first have to have a psychological revolution. If black people don't fundamentally change the way we think, feel, believe, and act, nothing else will change with it. See, our energy pollutes everything that we do. And that's why I say we have to do what? Raise a whole new generation of black children. 25 years of African education and socialization the right way. And until you build those schools, more of your children are going to drop out. Until you build those schools, more black men are going to go to jail. Until you build those schools, more black boys are going to go the way of homosexuality. And where did that demon come from? The homosexual movement is nothing more than another eugenic strategy. Just like you got prison, eugenics. Just like you got abortion, eugenics. Black on black homicide, eugenics. Chemical addiction, eugenics. Homosexuality, eugenics. What do all these strategies have in common? They are all designed to kill the life of the black. Homosexuality is no different. If I'm going to spend the rest of my life with another man, where do the children come from? If the lady going to spend the rest of her life with another lady, where do the children come from? Better yet, if every black person in America chose homosexuality and lesbianism today, in 100 years, there won't be no more black people in America. This is about extermination of the race. I'm not telling you to go and kill and chastise anybody who's homosexual, because we all know something. Because of the sicknesses in our community, and that's just one more of them. So the last thing we need to do is try to go and do harm to someone, prevent them from earning a decent living, prevent them from feeding themselves or keeping a roof over their head. We ain't talking about that. Those are called human rights. Everybody got a right to human rights. But marriage is a family right. And that's a privilege. And you don't get that unless you're getting married between a man and a woman. That's the only system of marriage that I'm ever going to condone. Right now, the president of Ghana the president of Liberia, who's the first black female president, and the president of Uganda are in hot water with President Obama. The sister from Liberia stood up and said, in my country, marriage is between a man and a woman. She said, we African, we've been doing that for millions of years, there's nothing to talk about. Obama called her up. He said, you're going to retract that statement. He said, you're going to retract it, and if you don't, guess what? Your International Monetary Fund money is getting canceled. Your World Bank loans is getting canceled. Your USAID grant is getting... Who the hell are you to go to the oldest people on earth and tell them that they have to accept a new type of marriage? Who the hell are you to go to Uganda? Uganda is in the cradle of civilization. That's the Nile Valley tract. You're going to the first people God put on earth, telling them that they have to condone man-man and woman-woman marriage. This is what Obama doing. And he loves doing it. Why did he give us a homosexual Secretary of Education, Arnie Duncan? Why did he give us a home? And by the way, Arnie Duncan, y'all know what he did, right? I'll be in Chicago in a couple of weeks with Dr. Kanjufu for the Black Male Conference on Educating Black Boys on Malcolm's Earth Day, Saturday, May 19th. BlackStarProject.org, for those of y'all who want to check that out. My ADHD just kicked in. Gay white man, okay. This man in Chicago, I don't know if y'all know this. In Chicago, the homosexual and lesbian students have their own state-of-the-art high school. Did y'all know that? You cannot go in that school if you don't practice alternative relationships. Now, black men, I know what you're saying. You saying we've been fighting for all black male public schools for years, since the 70s. And they've been telling us we can't have an all black male school. We can't have an all black female school. But look what they turn around and do. And give the gay children their own school. New York is working on a gay high school too. This is what's going on. And you know what they said the reason was? Because they needed to be protected from the other children. Who the hell need to be more protected from these white-ass teachers than black boys? If it's about protection, we should have been the first ones with a school. Absolutely ridiculous. And then the teachers are the advisors to the homosexual student groups. And the student groups are going around recruiting. I got lesbian gangs in Philadelphia who go into the bathroom when the bells ring, and guess what they do? They kick open the stalls and fondle the girls while they're sitting down on the toilets, recruiting them, and they don't get expelled. But if that girl make a homosexual joke, she's thrown out. White kid call a black kid an N-word, not expelled. Black kid called a white kid a homosexual word, he's gone. If you haven't paid attention, homosexual rights have totally taken over black civil rights. And then you got people telling us you're supposed to support them because you're a minority too. And you falling for that. Well, we was a minority. So if we was a minority, we had our civil struggle. Why we ain't supposed? First of all, who you are ain't got nothing to do with who you choose to have sex with. That's two totally different things. This is a state of being. Homosexuality is a state of acting. It's two different things. Don't you dare confuse that. Where was the gay people when we was getting water hoses? Where was the gay people when dogs was biting the breasts off black men, black women? Where was the gay people when our children had to march in front of Dr. King and them so the people can see how they was treating? Where were they then? You might have had one, you might have had two, but the gay people did the same thing the Jews did. They did the same thing the Hispanics did. Same thing the Mexicans, the East Indians, and the Arabs did. They stood on the damn sideline. Watch us do all the hard work, and as soon as the Civil Rights Bill was signed, guess what? All the minorities came out to get something for it. And you know what? Part of that is our fault because we asked them to come with us. See, we don't just want to stand up for black people. We want to stand up for everybody. Failing to recognize that these other people you're standing up for don't like you no more than a white man does. And this Hispanic thing, I'm getting sick and tired of it. Reading the newspaper. The Hispanics are about to take over. They're the fastest growing group. But what the hell is a Hispanic? Hispanic ain't nothing but a black person speaking Spanish. You don't want to be black. Thank you. Puerto Ricans, Cubans, you just as black as the rest of us. No bit of difference. Your ancestors came over on that ship just like mine. But because it ain't popular to be African no more, everybody looking for a new label. Biracial, multiracial, quadracial. The census confusing Negroes, making you think white people put you in groups. Tiger Woods hate himself so much he came up with his own label. Cablinasian. I am Caucasian, black, Indian, and Asian. But when you went in court and that poor white woman broke your damn pockets, you was all Negro then. And then they put you in the front of Cosmopolitan magazine the day after she got his settlement. Did y'all see him? He had no shirt on, his pants was sagging, and his hat was on backwards. That's what you get for trying not to fit with the rest of us. Kobe Bryant, white wife, she just left him. $90 million in all 3 mansions. Russell Simmons, the Chinese lady, Kimura, she broke his pockets, and he ran to another white woman. Michael Jordan about to marry a white woman. I think they have a son or about to have a son. You're going to see a white Michael Jordan. Lord have mercy. Sometimes I dream that he is me. See? And this is what we do. And then a black man say, well, I can't help who I fall in love with. That's what I'm hearing. I can't help who I fall in love with. Why can't you? You can help who you fall in love with. You choose to fall in love with her. And then you say you don't want to date a black woman because she's a gold digger. Well, guess what? I don't know no black woman in America who got a $90 million cash payout. I don't know no black woman who got 3 mansions. Anybody have been divorced and got 3 mansions when you got them divorced? Nobody getting that but them. White women got a strategy. First they try to get the Anglo-Saxon rich white men. But the thing with rich white men, they tend to only marry women who already got money. Which means what? They have to go to the black man. First generation money. And we so happy to rock around with a white woman. And I don't understand it because once she turned 50 years old. I swear you would think she turned into a damn turkey. She got 3 chins, face falling off like it's melting. Can't cook, no flavor in the food whatsoever. And then soon when they get 50, you know what he want to do? He want to start dating the sisters on the side. Married to a white woman, dating the sisters on the side for the cookies and for the cooking, and you know what the cookies is. See? And I'm saying to myself, what did you think she was going to look like when she turned 50? Because they ain't got no collagen, they ain't got no melanin, they stuff don't hang like a sister. Sister look like she 40 at 70, look like she 20 at 50. They look like they 100 at 40. She married at 4. Is your sister single? Hell no! You better go get Purdue turkey, motherfucker. Come on, brother. A few more things, y'all. When we're done here, for the parents in particular, I want you to make sure you get my business card so in the future, if any of you have an issue with your child centered around special ed, ADHD, psychiatric med exposure, you can send me an email and I'll tell you how to deal with the situation. Schools are breaking the laws on a daily basis, violating our children's rights. If your child is in special ed, some children do need it. We do have some autistic children. We do have some severely and profoundly mentally retarded children. I'm not talking about mild mental retardation. Because mild mental retardation ain't nothing but a slow learner. That's right, bro. Okay, that's all that is. That's right. But if you got a child with a real problem, that's something you made up so you can get a check. Because see, you want to cash in too. I want him with a learning disability so I can get a check. I want him retarded so I can get a crazy check. I had a one boy one time, he came to me, this was at an African Center charter school. I'm giving him an IQ test, he's deliberately getting items wrong that a kindergartner can get right, and I know nothing wrong with him. So I'm looking at this like, why you get everything wrong on purpose? I didn't know the answer. I go to the special ed coordinator, I said, what's wrong with this boy? He think he fooling me, but he getting everything wrong. She said, oh, I didn't tell you about him yet. Every time it's time for a reevaluation, his mother tell him to play retarded. Why? Because the mentally retarded kids get the highest SSI money. You see, so they tell the kids to act stupid so they can get that check. What they fail to realize, though, he didn't act stupid so long that he becomes stupid. And you stuck with that kind of situation. Don't you ever sell your child future down the drain for $600, $700, $800, $900. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. And in speaking of hustling children, I don't know if you noticed, they are giving a lot of our foster children and adoptive children to same-sex white couples all around the country. Y'all see them? I was on an airplane with one, 2 white men with a baby of color. Okay, I couldn't tell if the baby was black, Catholic, Asian, I couldn't tell. The baby was... And these 2 white men were so proud that they had this little baby of color. Baby wanted to throw up. They standing up, walking up and down the airplane so everybody can see this is our child. What you gonna teach that baby about dating and romance? You want to see no man tonguing no other man in front of that kid? Hey, come on now. This is about cultural imperialism. Trying to force your demonistic ways on somebody else. I know you got a history of that because in Greece and Rome, that's all y'all did. Julius Caesar, Napoleon, Alexander the Great, this is what y'all did. Socrates, Aristotle, Epictetus, the philosophers, y'all was into that stuff. The Roman Catholic Church was based on that stuff. That the woman is no good, so we don't touch her. That's totally contrary to the African way because we believe that the woman is the manifestation of the Most High. So it's a totally different reality. That's why we got to go back to being who we supposed to be, not what other people want us to be. We have to become unapologetically African. It's essential that we do that. Listen to me about college. Do not send your child to college unless they meet 2 criteria. Number 1, they want to become something that requires a college education. Number 2, you believe as their mother and father that they have the commitment and discipline to finish. Too many parents and children are going into loan debt. Loan debt. Loan debt because we sending children to college who you know ain't gonna finish. If you mean to tell me that you had to roll him out the bed every day to get to class at 8, living with you, what the hell he gonna do at Syracuse University when it's time for the 8 o'clock math class? Are y'all following me? If he cut class every day after lunch, what the hell you doing sending him to Florida State on $25,000 a year? And then get mad at him when he come back and say, Mom, I just don't think college is for me. And now you stuck with a loan. The only children who should be going to college are those who want to be something that requires an education on that level to get it. Some professions are legally regulated. I'm a psychologist that's legally regulated. You got to get a license or a certification, and you only get that with a master's or a doctorate. If you want to be an engineer, a lawyer, an educator, those are legally regulated. But if you want to be a business owner or a farmer, that's not legally regulated. You can go and farm. You got to follow the regulations of farming, but you don't necessarily have to have been trained in college to be a farmer. So we have to talk to our children and see what it is they really want to be, because too many black children are going to college and they're coming back home with nothing but debt, no degree. Are y'all following me on that? What's wrong with trade school? What's wrong with being a plumber? What's wrong with being a carpenter? What's wrong with being an auto mechanic? What's wrong with being an electrician? They make just as much money as we do. I got a friend of mine who's a carpenter. He makes way more money than I do, and he's been working for himself since he was 21. It only took him 2 years to get that piece of paper. Our children got options, and we need to share those options with our children. And although I'm not a fan of children taking time off after high school, if your child don't know what they want to do, let them take time off and think about it. Ain't no need to be thinking about it in college while you paying for it. Think about it now. And if they are going to go to college, I recommend that they go outside of the city where they live. Some of us don't want to let our children grow up. I want my daughter at home with me so I can know what she's doing. I want my son at home. sooner or later they got to grow up. And let me tell you what I find, because I work with college students. When you over-shelter them children, you know what your daughters do when they go to college? They get buff wild. I'm telling you, because they never had no freedom. She wanted to go on a date. Nah, you can't date. You only 17. You don't go on no date till you get married. So she never had no freedom at home. So now she had a college with nothing but males. And guess what she doing? She ain't got no type of regulation, no discipline, no nothing, because you didn't teach her none of that. You can't hide these kids from the world. We do got to protect them, and we got to educate them, and we do want them to be celibate until marriage if they can. But the problem is you can't expect your child to be celibate until marriage, and you're letting them listen to music that promotes sexuality, watch movies that promote sexuality, hang around a peer group that don't do nothing but talk about sexuality. If the idea is not in the mind, the child won't manifest it. That's right. But I'm going to tell you this. That's right. If there's something that all girls need, it is an effective emotional attachment, if not to her father, to an older man. Because our teenage pregnancy is nothing more than our girls looking for love from a masculine man that they never got from their father completely. And so they ended up with babies. Come on, bro. If we want to cut down on teenage pregnancy, we got to put fathers in the lives of girls. And we got to put fathers in the lives of boys. And we got to put mothers in the lives of boys. I know a lot of men, we raise them boys by ourselves. We teach him to be a man. I love it. But he still needs some of that feminine energy. We have to see why or what he feels about his mother not necessarily being there. Because a lot of men harbor hatred towards their mother and they take it out on their significant other. Come on, brother. And then it comes out as domestic abuse, domestic violence. And to the sisters, domestic violence is a big problem in our community. When we talk about building the services for our community, one service I'll tell you we need right now, we need a shelter for black women where they can go when they got to leave that house. And they got nowhere else to turn. Too many sisters are putting up with domestic violence because they ain't got nowhere to go. They can't go to their family because their family, they can't even trust them. They go with their mom, they go with their sister, they go with their cousin. Guess what? They telling the husband or the boyfriend where they staying. Y'all see what I'm saying? So we need a shelter for our sisters. We really need a shelter for our sisters. And for men, you got to recognize that you can also be a victim of domestic violence. We tend not to understand that. When a woman is threatening you, that's domestic violence. Slashing your tires, that's domestic violence. Okay? Threats on the telephone, standing outside your job. Requesting you on Facebook under 25 aliases, that's domestic damn violence. You got a woman with 25 different Facebook profiles, you better get the hell out that house quick! She crazy! We have to start adopting our own children. It is very important that we do that. It's very important. Dr. Yusuf Ben Yakinen, scholar warrior up in New York, him and his wife adopted several. He's a very busy man. So I took a page out of his book. I said if he can find time to adopt a child, then we can all do that. You know, I'm probably going to have to adopt a son because I got 2 girls, and if I keep on going, I'm going to end up like Malcolm. So I'm going to have to adopt them. I'm jealous of y'all. Y'all came out with 2 boys on the twin. I'm real jealous of them. They got 2, not 1 boy. Lord gave him 2. Okay? June 16th in Philadelphia for the men. June 16th in Philadelphia. We're going to have a conference for black men in Philadelphia interested in taking that ride. It's a real quick ride from Baltimore to Philadelphia. Sister Pam Africa, Ramona Africa, good friends of mine. We're going to have a conference for black men to try to organize us locally and nationally to get some things done. I really would like... Gotcha. Yeah, man, long. I really would like... We got to keep the protocol. We, really would like to have a relationship between the black men of Baltimore and the black men of Philadelphia. Yeah. The black men of Baltimore and the black men of Philadelphia. See, when we talk about Trayvon Martin, the reason why Zimmerman was arrested, I want to make sure you know this. It wasn't for justice. And it wasn't because of that man with the perm either. Okay? The reason Zimmerman was arrested is because Obama didn't want to suffer a backlash at the polls last week. So he had to be arrested to make sure it didn't shake up the voters' confidence. That's why Zimmerman is not likely to get a conviction before November. Because Obama want to make sure that however that case goes, it doesn't affect him. Not only Obama, but all the other black elected officials in the state of Florida. Are y'all following me? So let's not celebrate the Zimmerman thing. That was nothing but a military strategy during the political year. Election year, that's all it was. Now, the reason they took so long to arrest Zimmerman is because we didn't give them a reason to arrest them sooner. See, one thing we got to understand, and a lot of people like to criticize Dr. King, but Dr. King was a master strategist. What would Dr. King have done had he been living? I'm going to tell you, there would have been about 1 million black people in Florida. Some of us would have been responsible for cutting off the roads that go from the city to the airport so nobody flies out that day. Some of us would have been responsible for blocking the roads that go to the supermarket and the malls so nobody make no money that day. Some of us would have been responsible for disrupting the roads that lead from the ghetto to the suburbs so white people couldn't go home at night that day. Are y'all following me? If you want to get the attention of white people, you got to disrupt their economic order, inconvenience their daily routine, and mess with their way of life. If that had happened, we would have got an arrest overnight. But all we did was have a press conference, calling bourgeoisie black leaders to talk for us. Okay? We did a photo op and we went home. White people didn't have a reason to arrest Zimmerman. And unfortunately, this Zimmerman case is going to be a major symbol for the white vigilanteism to come against black people. Now, I don't like to give bad news, but I'm a political analyst. If you haven't heard of the Stand Your Ground law, I suggest you start researching it. The Stand Your Ground law is this new thing that the southern states came up with. Texas and Florida started it, that says you can be justified in taking another person's life if you feel. Are y'all with me now? If you feel that your life was in jeopardy. You don't have to prove that they had a weapon. You don't have to prove that they was even thinking about hurting you. All you have to do is believe your life was in jeopardy. The Stand Your Ground law is the first step on the way back to Jim Crow. The Stand Your Ground law is the first step on the way back to the black codes. The Stand Your Ground law is the first step to deputizing every white person in America with the political power to take a black life. If the black man is considered public enemy #1 in America, what white person couldn't claim that they were evoking the Stand Your Ground law when they walking down the street at night and we coming towards him? What white teacher can't say she shot a black student because she was going to her car and it was dark outside after school? He coming from basketball practice out the gym with a hoodie on. And she didn't know that that was a student and she shot and killed him. My point is the Stand Your Ground law has simply made open season on all black men. Oh, and this Trayvon Martin case is going to be critical for us because the outcome sets the tone. And if we got any lawyers in here, y'all know this case law. That becomes the first major case in the Stand Your Ground. If he walks, do you know what that does? That gives the incentive to all white men that you have a right to shoot and kill black men because you believe they pose a threat. Well, guess what? White supremacy is based on the belief that black men pose a threat. Couple more points. Illusion of inclusion. If we don't stop falling for political tricksters who are making us think that we have made more progress in the last 40 years than we made the previous 100, we won't go anywhere. People who don't think they have a reason to do anything won't do it. When you talk about progress, I ask you, what is your definition? My definition of progress is not how many black people got elected to office. It's not how many black people who have made it to Hollywood. It's not how many black people who are making movies. It's not how many black people who got Cadillac trucks. That's not my definition of progress. My definition of progress is to what extent as a people have we been able to create a self-sustaining, independent existence. To what extent do we own? When slavery ended in 1865, when they passed the 13th Amendment, we were approximately 12 to 17% of the population. And we own 1/2 of the wealth of America. That was 145 years ago. Today, in 2012, with LeBron James, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Cosby, and the rest of them, you still are only 12 to 15% of the population, and you still control less than 1/2 of 1% of all the wealth in America. So for my people who believe in this progress, I ask you to prove it to me. A black man's life is no more safer today than it was 145 years ago. No safer. They lynching us with miseducation. They lynching us with economic castration. They lynching us with homosexualization. They lynching us with effeminization. I'm walking through some of my schools and some of my 4th and 5th grade boys are already getting the swagger. And y'all know what the swagger is. I was giving a lecture at one of America's oldest black colleges up in Pennsylvania, and 4 cross-dressed black men walked in there. Pocketbooks, high heel, skirt, they were students. What would you do if your son came home and said, Dad, I like being at Coppin, I like being at Morgan, and I don't know what their laws are in terms of dress. I'm just using them as an example. I like going to an HBCU, but guess what I found out today, Dad? Guess who my roommate is? Raheem the transvestite. He dresses like a woman. He's getting his body changed over. I went to the residential life office and said, can I have a heterosexual black roommate? And they said, no, it's a civil rights violation if they grant my request because I'm discriminating against my roommate's sexual preference. This is what we're going through. Which is why, although I support our HBCUs, I understand that they were created at a certain time for a certain purpose. We need to build new colleges. That's right. We need modern black colleges and universities. We need colleges that don't teach black people to fit, but teach them to own and control. See, as I work to build the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Pan-African Independence Academy for our boys and for our girls, there's going to be 6 sciences that we're going to teach. We're going to teach the 5 majors because you have no choice. Y'all know what the 5 majors is: math, science, history, English, and social studies, which is now case studies. We're going to teach military science. We're going to teach political science. We're going to teach agricultural and agronomical science. If the Chinese store shut down, how would you eat? If they stopped giving those 3 wings with the 25-cent soda and the Lucy, your ass would starve. Okay? The science of black family development and maintenance, spiritual and astrological science, the science of economic finance and international competition. That's what the Asians are getting. Asian kids don't go to school to learn how to work for white people. East Indian children don't go to school to learn how to work for white people. Our children go to school to learn how to serve others, not themselves. It's time for us to throw that yoke up off of our backs. Marcus Garvey said that God never intended us to be a race without a country, and we are not going to abuse God's confidence in us as men. When he was asked whether he was a Jamaican or an African, he said, I will never ever give up a continent for an island. Marcus Garvey said that without confidence in yourself, you are twice defeated in the race of life, but with confidence you have won even before you have started. Marcus Garvey said the black man is in a position he's in not because he's black, but because he hasn't organized his power. He said a strong black man is strong everywhere he goes. And so what we must do, black men, is we must go back to being what we used to be so that our women and our elders and our children can look up to us and say, damn, thank God that I'm an African. Ashe.
Dr. Umar, big round of applause, y'all. Big round of applause. Cotton City round of applause. Yeah. All right. How many people enjoying themselves today? Good food, damn good food, right? Dr. Umar, Watoto from the Nile.
LGE, how can I explain it? We're rapping day by day with it to have you all jumping, shouting, saying it. I just feel like just forgiving, that's essential. The let ego, that's just that simple. I could just stop it like another thing that's physical and mental. The soul's intermental in its hemisphere. Don't drive out other spirit like it's like a part of the equation. And see my God, that's some explain. But I said, you have a meltdown that you don't watch a video. That's just trying to keep a thing you stop a wonder though. The beat is my who was hitting hard without a doubt. Do you even know what the see is what you talking about? It's when I first started to also to into the T. That's when you start to figure out it ain't no mystery. The trigger really try to use to make you win it. Watch the fun analysis, ducking you to quit it. We said I also got this where we get our spirit in. But never took to us cause now we preaching it. But at the paper LGE, come on and sign the list. Come on, people, get your membership.
Get on without GE. Get on without GE. Get on without GE. Get down without GE. Come and ride with me. Get on without GE. Get on without GE. Get on without GE. Get down without GE. Come and ride with me.
Now for the ladies, LGE needs some explaining, cause there's no more disrespecting my girl. It's time to end it. It's the loneliest route. I can only dream of standing tall. We trying to tell the whole world they want the me. I love it when the brother take the vow to get respect from me. It fills me up with letter. Lots of energy. We teaching lessons like this. What you want rap to be? Educating you raply. Have you ever had a time when you were feeling mad about your life? No matter what you do, it seems you're never going right. The time is done. What can I do to take this pain away? Turn up to Stevie, maybe Whitney. That should say today. I'm feeling good about myself. I've been in constant prayer. In LGE, I take my car and lift it in the air. So many people in this game, they do it just for dough. And they be bucking that's and skin and putting on a show. You say your soul, who's in control? The people sitting high. See LGE, and lift your fist up high. No silence, get in them, be raving in the count. Don't sell your soul, help the people out.
Get on without GE.
Yeah, you know me.
Get on without GE.
Yeah, you know me.
Get on without GE.
Yeah, you know me.
Get down without GE. Come and ride with me. Get on without GE.
Yeah, you know me.
Get on without GE.
Yeah, you know me.
Get on without GE.
Yeah, you know me.
Get down without GE. Come and ride with me.
Get why the industry is no good for me and who they do it for. I told now we gonna teach you. Learn to do it here. Time to stand up, unity. Time to represent the LGE. LGE. Easiest 1, 2, 3. Help build the community. LGE. And you'll see, maybe you and me. Yeah, LGE. Easiest 1, 2, 3. Help build the community. LGE. Can't you see, maybe you and me. Yeah.